Okay, the next bit we're going to look at is graphics, adding graphics to the podcast. Now, if you go to not the information, but this one here, click on that one, which is the. It should come up when I put my mouse over it. There we are. The media browser. That's right. Knew that was the case. I was just testing. Choose instead of audio. Choose photos. Pick the album that you want. You might have them, all sorts of different albums. I'm just going to go down to the bottom here because I know at the bottom I've got a few podcast photos I want to put in. Now I've got like one which is Australian Mac, and I'm just going to drop that in as the initial podcast here. But look at that! Wouldn't you believe it? That this is in the wrong spot, right? Now, it looks awful, doesn't it? I mean, look, it's all cut off. You can't see Australian Mac anywhere. What can I do? Well, very simple. Double click. Up comes this. A viewer. Wow. Oh, God, have Mac thought of everything? Yes, they have. I put that slider across, just across there a bit. Now that should fit it. Oh, still just a little bit off the top. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Let's try that. Set. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now, interestingly enough, if had that been 300 by 300, it would have fitted perfectly, but it wasn't. So now look at the podcast. Click on the podcast track. See, probably down here with jingles or something. Click on the podcast track. I know you'd be on the podcast track, otherwise it doesn't appear. So in order to get this to appear, you have to have clicked the podcast track. So if you're wondering where the hell it is, that's the reason. Now let's have a look at the information button here, which is also known as the track info. Okay, and look, there it is in all its glory, the podcast view. And as it says down here, it says, this image is displayed in iTunes when the episode is selected. It'll be displayed anywhere there is no artwork present in the podcast track. And that is interesting. So it's always good to have that. It's important that you recognise that when you then, as we will do, export this to iWeb, this is going to be placed in that page holder, that placeholder, on the iWeb page that we looked at in the first place, and also for each episode. Okay, so episode info's there. Now, what are we going to call this? Let's call the thing my first podcast. Yeah, that'll do. Who's the artist? Me, Dave Brown. What a wonderfully great name it is. Parent advisory. Well, I can't say I'm clean. I can't say I'm explicit, so I'm just not going to give anything at all. And probably that's best if you're not sure of what categories you are. Best not to have any category at all. Description. This is just a bit of fun. And you can put in, shouldn't be a long description if you can avoid it, because this is about the episode. The long description is on the page, not the episode. So a short description is good. Short, brief, and to the point, so that people can look at it and go, nah, not interested in that. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? I think we might just stop at that, and then I'll show you how to put artwork onto the track in the next one, this track, and how to make chapters and markers. A sophisticated GarageBand podcast. Okay.